All right, I think we are pretty safe to get started and people can still, hop in as we are going. But I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Haley. I know I've talked to a lot of you on the phone previously, and at least all of you have received, I'm sure, a couple of emails from me by now. But it's great to be able to connect with our families in this way. And I also have our camp director, Corey Green, here with me today. And Corey will be monitoring the chat box. So if y'all have any questions, feel free to just send it in the chat box. That way, we're not trying to battle mics. And I know some people's audio can cut out when we do things like that. But yeah, welcome to the Get to Know Talisman webinar. We are very excited to be able to share some information about our camp with you guys. And just to disclose, some of these pictures could have our from past summers with us, with multiple years span of pictures, which is fun for us to look back over and might crack a chuckle or two from me personally. But yeah, let's get started. So a little bit about who we are and our mission. So we provide young people with learning differences, exceptional opportunities to increase self-confidence, independence, motivation, and social competence in a safe and nurturing environment. We serve campers who have primary diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder and ADHD and other similarly presenting learning disabilities. And we have campers for a wide range of ages, which we'll get into in a little bit. And kind of, our main goals when our campers are with us are to make them feel successful and increase their confidence, as well as increase their independence. A lot of our campers haven't spent a ton of time away from their families, so it's really important for them to be able to learn that they can do things independently, as well as create relationships independently of their family and people who they maybe have been in the same classroom with for years and years. As well as, providing them structure and an environment where we think they will be successful. A lot of questions that I get from families are, my child has never done a ton of outdoor activities, or, my child's never been around similarly minded peers as them. And a lot of what we do is to, we're not going to do anything that is going to make your child feel less successful than before they came to camp. We're not going to set them up for failure because we want all of our campers to do really well while they're here with us. Going back into who we serve, like I said, we serve ADHD, autism, and other similarly presenting disorders. A lot of our ADHD campers have like more extreme ADHD, where it really affects their emotional regulation and their executive function, as well as their social skills. And autism spectrum disorder is a wide spectrum. And I always like to, make it clear that we know spectrum of autism is not like a linear spectrum, but more of a circular spectrum. And all of our campers can have different strengths and different differences. And I also always like to note that most of our campers have similar support needs, which is a low level of support need. Most of our campers also have average to high average intelligence levels, or IQ, and conversational verbal language skills. That being said, especially on our website, and I do hear this from parents and other professionals asking why we use different terminology on our website. And part of that is because we serve a wide age range of campers as well. And some of our campers do still hold an Asperger's diagnosis, or some of our campers may hold, a HFA diagnosis or a PDD-NOS diagnosis. And we want to make sure that all of our campers do feel included, as we want them to feel comfortable when they come to camp. And, on the screen, you can see some of the main traits that we see in our campers. So a little bit about our programs. We have various programs for various ages, as well as adventure level as we get a little bit older. Our discovery is our 6 and 7-year-olds, and we typically offer discovery for one session per summer at the end of the summer. And they are with us for a week, and usually the most popular group that we have the whole summer. Everyone wants to work with discovery. Everyone wants to hang out with them because they're small and funny. And then our 8 to 13-year-olds, we have two groups, and those are Sight and Foundations. And as you can see on the screen, Foundations is our groups for ADHD, and Sight is more of our groups for autism. That being said, we know a lot of our campers do have that dual diagnosis of autism and ADHD. And how we kind of break that down is getting to know your camper. So we a lot of you have been through the application and the admissions process, so you know that we ask quite a few questions when we're determining enrollment for your camper. And really what tends to happen is Foundations becomes our clean ADHD group, and Sight becomes our mix of autism and ADHD group. Many, if not most, of our campers in the Sight program do hold a dual diagnosis of autism and ADHD. And the biggest difference, which we also touch on in our podcast episodes on our programs, is the speed at which they move through camp. Corey and I like to joke a lot that you can see Foundations in the art room and then on the blacktop and then in the pond, and they've also played a game of soccer in between. And that all happens in a span of like 1 to 2 minutes. Whereas our Sight group might sit down and talk about the expectations of a schedule to come to make sure everyone's on the same page and reduce as much anxiety as possible with their campers. Taking that little bit more time to transition, where our Foundations kids might not need as much time to transition, and are a little bit more fast moving pace throughout camp during the day. And then we move into our 14 through 17-year-old groups, and those are our Insight and Teen Expeditions or Teen Adventures programs. And both of those can accept autism and ADHD. We do tend to find that a lot of our ADHD or previous Foundations campers like to go into teens as it's faster pace, more high adventure, but we like for most of our campers to go through a base camp program first. And that is because our campers use skills that they have learned with us during our base camp program when they're out on teen adventures. Teens goes out for 5, 6, 7, 12 days during sometimes some summers we have really long sessions and they'll go out for 12 days at a time. And they don't have that direct support. They still have their staff with them, but they don't have the whole camp's staff with them to help support their group. So they use a lot of those, personal independent responsibility, keeping track of their own belongings, as well as interpersonal relationship and problem solving skills. Our teens groups are really good at sitting down if they're having a group conflict and talking about it and coming up with a solution in something we like to call an issue group, and so on and so forth. But we're also offering a 1-week teens program this year that can be open for new campers as well. It's offered during our session 1, and we're calling it the Teen Adventure Series, Land or Lake. So you can get a little bit more of that high adventure while also having the support to learn how our camp works, which we thought was a really great opportunity for some of our campers who weren't quite ready for teens or were new to us and wanted to try something a little bit more high adventure. And then one of our teens programs is leadership, which can get you into crew, and those are both by invitation only. So typically after Inside Our Teens, our campers will move up into our young adults program, and that is more of a intro to adulthood. So while they get to do all of the fun traditional camp activities, they also get to go out into the community and learn things such as how to plan a meal and making sure that meal has a vegetable with it, which often they don't want it to, or budgeting, grocery shopping, and cooking for themselves. And then other than that, they also get to do more fun stuff and learn how to make friends in the community. A lot of our campers do struggle to make friends. And so when they are getting taken out of high school or a community that they've been with for a long time, like any 18-year-old might struggle to figure out how to make some social connections. So they might go to an Asheville tourist baseball game if there's a home game, or an outdoor concert in Hendersonville, do an urban scavenger hunt in Asheville, or something really cool to kind of learn those life skills as well as having, camp fun. How we differ from different camps is a few different things. We like to say we are traditional camp for a non-traditional camper, or a camp for a quirky kid. But some things that are a little different is our staff. They come to us over 2 weeks before the beginning of the summer and get extensive training, and we have multiple levels of support within our staff. And something that is really different is our programming. A lot of other camps might be, choose your own activity, or you come in on the first day and you make your schedule and you might plan things with a couple of friends, but having opportunity to go from group to group. And something we do is we move through camp in cohorts or families. So our groups are 8 to 9 campers with 3 staff typically, and they stay together the whole entire time they are at camp. And we find this helpful for many reasons, including assisting our campers in building and maintaining relationships, as well as having our staff get to know our campers really well so they feel comfortable to open up about things that they might be stressed about. And that group moves through camp on their schedule. Every group has a different schedule while they're doing a lot of the same activities, but they're always doing those activities together as a group. They might join in with another group or two for a bigger game, such as field games or kickball, but they do have a set schedule before they come to camp. Another thing that we do at Talisman is challenge by choice. So we understand that our kids have different interests, and maybe have not tried a lot of the higher adventure activities that we offer at Talisman. So we use a challenge by choice system for most of our programming activities. And what that means to us is that we're not going to force a camper to participate if they are, scared of heights and tree climbing, or aren't quite sure because they can't see their feet in the pond. But what our staff will do is provide them a lot of encouragement, endless levels of encouragement, and let them know that it's okay if they don't feel ready. But the first time they go to tree climbing, a staff might sit off to the side with the camper and play a card game or chat or draw. And then the next time they go to tree climbing, that staff might try to encourage that camper to put on a helmet and sit under the tree limbs and encourage their friends, or put on a harness, even if they're not quite ready to hook it up to the rope, which is something really awesome that our staff are really mindful about with our campers. And then, just the traditional things about us. We're located in Western North Carolina in Zirconia. We do not offer camps off of our base campus currently, but we do have campers who come to us from all over the country. And, we like to say we serve some of the pickiest campers that maybe have ever gone to camps. So our kitchen is really diligent about making sure all of our campers are being fed, and getting calories and having energy to participate in their day. We serve all different types of special diets: gluten-free, dairy-free, vegetarian, vegan, casein-free, low carb, anything that we really would need to do to make sure our campers are fed. And then we serve about 80 or so campers per session. Somewhere between 80 and 90 campers typically are on our campus at a time, which allows our campers to have the opportunity to connect with a lot of peers while not overwhelming them by having 300-400 kids at camp at a time, and not having that big of a campus where they're going to get lost and, feel overwhelmed in that way. While I touched on our groups, we do handpick our groups. And I know I've explained this to some of you guys already, but we apply and get enrolled into a program. And then from there, way closer to the summer, we place our campers into group, and we kind of look at their age, their interests, their diagnosis, their developmental level, and try and pair them with other peers who have something in common and we think they will be able to make great friends with. Another thing that we like to touch on is our gender policy. So we do try to meet our campers where they're at, and like I said, have them in a space where they feel comfortable. And we do try to pair up, girls in a group together and not have anyone who feels singled out in their groups. So I don't know if we have any campers on here with us today, and if we do, that's totally cool. But a question that we get a lot is how to introduce the idea of camp to your children. And we do find it important to pre-process camp with your campers. We use a lot of pre-processing tactics once your camper is with us at camp, as well as provide a lot of pre-processing tactics, including this webinar, our Preparing for Camp Parent webinar, our open house, our e-campfire, our videos, our catalog. We're happy to set up a Zoom call or do a tour so that we can have your camper feeling prepared, confident, and comfortable with the idea of coming to camp. We understand that a lot of our campers may have never been away from home before, and that could be really scary. I personally hated camp as a child because I hated being away from home. I was a huge homebody, but I think if I would have had opportunities like this to see where I was going, know what I was getting myself into, I might have been a little bit more open to the idea. So we do encourage our families to help their camper understand where they're going, some of the things they're going to be doing, help them set goals, and even celebrate. We have a lot of families who will come in on closing day and have that soda that their camper has been waiting for, or a donut, or their favorite sweet treat, to praise them for doing something that they did not think they were capable of doing. And that is really important, is, helping them build that confidence. As far as gear, most of our campers do bring trunks or under the bed totes. Our bunkhouses are set up with bunk beds. We usually have about 6 to 7 or 8 bunk beds in a room. So the whole group should be in the room together, split up by typically by sex assigned at birth. So we do like to have as much organization in the cabins as possible. While sometimes they might look like a tornado has run through them, usually by breakfast time every day, they should be ready to go. So these are examples of some trunks that our campers have brought in the past. Even a tote, a storage bin that you have at your house already would be great for that. As far as sleeping bags, we like to use a blend sleeping bag, no down or no cotton. So it does rain a lot where we are, and it could rain overnight on the camp out. And the campers shouldn't get too wet, but if the ground is wet or some water does leak through, we don't want their sleeping bag to just soak it right up and make them pretty cold. Speaking of rain, we do ask that all of our campers bring a rain jacket or poncho, and some of our campers even bring rain pants, so that they can still enjoy activities as safely as they can if it's raining. We don't get a ton of like thunder and lightning storms, but we do get a lot of rain. So they are still able to participate in a lot of activities. And we know that not a lot of our campers don't like having like wet clothes and being sticky and things like that. So rain jackets are very important. Shoes that have good support are some of our teens programs, like I said, stay out for multiple nights at a time. So we do recommend long johns or long underwear for those programs. And then something that all of our campers get to participate in daily is flashlight time. And that is time where they are able to sit in their beds with the lights out and relax before turning all of those off before going to bed. So we do recommend a headlamp or a flashlight for, that part of the day every day. And then we ask that all of our campers bring 2 water bottles so that we can make sure they're staying nice and hydrated. Or if one mysteriously gets left, on the other side of camp and they don't find it for the next hour, they have another one to fall back on. But some things that we ask our parents not to bring are electronics. We are an electronic free camp, and that goes for our campers and our direct care staff. There's a slide coming up where we can touch more on communication. And then snacks. We don't allow our campers to bring personal snacks into the cabin. This is because years ago we did have a camper sneak some Nutella in and share it because she thought it was really yummy and she wanted to share it with her friends, not knowing that one of her friends did have a hazelnut allergy, and it turned into a big thing. Everyone ended up okay, but we really like to avoid that. A lot of our campers have allergies and food sensitivity, so we do not allow our campers to bring snacks in unless pre-approved for some type of medical reasoning. We also, unfortunately, I very much wish all of your dogs could come on opening day because I'm very much an animal person, but we can't allow pets on opening and closing day on our campus because it could get a little hectic. And some of our campers might be afraid of dogs, which we know in advance, and we know not to bring our camp dogs around them without fair warning, and giving them the opportunity to engage in an alternate activity during that time. So, and then just unnecessary things. I think I saw Corey touch on this in the chat room, but we do try to not have super valuable items brought to camp. We know that it's important to bring sometimes a stuffy or a special blanket or things like that, but things could get lost, broken, or damaged by water. So we try to not bring anything super important and clutter up the cabins.
Haley, if I could jump in really quick on two things.
Yeah.
It was funny in the chat. Yes, no, dogs and cats are not allowed. Also, any
Except for
other,
my cat.
yeah, any other pets as well are not allowed. So
Yes.
no bearded dragons, no lizards, anything like that. Because we've had that question before. Just going back to the clothing, I know sometimes thermals or long johns can be difficult to find.
Yeah.
And so don't let that bother you. Any kind of light long sleeve shirt and long pants it can work. Even pajama pants. We have the kids bring those just for when they're sleeping on their camp out. And so sometimes they get a little colder. It's also preventative for mosquito bites. So that's why we have that on the list. But don't think you have to go searching for exact thermals because you may not be able to find them, and we understand.
No, it won't get too cold either. So it doesn't have to be like a 0 degree type of thing. I know we've had some really outdoorsy parents ask about some really serious gear. It does not have to be that serious. Just something tighter, and maybe we do recommend dry fit just to wick off that moisture. But moving on to medications, we do have a nurse who's with us on campus 24 hours a day, and all of our staff are very well trained on medications and will be the one distributing medications to the campers with oversight from the nurse. That being said, we recommend that all of our families use PackMyRx, which you'll receive information about after enrollment, and they use a system that is close to what is shown on the screen that has the camper's name, the time of the medication, the date in which it's supposed to be given, the name of the medication, the dosage, and even a description of the pill to make it really easy for our staff to make sure your camper is receiving the appropriate medication at the appropriate time and not make any mistakes. If PackMyRx does not accept your insurance, which I know we've run into a couple of times, there are alternative options, including Walgreens has a program similar to this. CVS, Amazon even has a pill packaging system, as well as those similar packaging bags are available on Amazon. So that is questions that we can answer if you guys give us a call, or you can email Natalie, our operations director, whose information can be found on our website. We do ask that we do not have any gummies or gel capsules. And typically that's the gel capsules that have the liquid inside because, as I said, our staff are the ones distributing medication. They carry all the medications on a backpack that is locked and attached to their body 24 hours a day, meaning it also goes through the heat and the sun and the elements. We do keep it dry, but it could, the gel capsules and the gummies could melt and destroy other medications in the package, which is why we try to avoid those. But we understand that there are other needs that might, our campers might have, including liquid medications, shots, or something that may need refrigerated, in which case, if PackMyRx does not fill those, we can set up a system where you can bring them to camp and they can remain in the nurse's office locked refrigerator that is specifically for medical need. And then if something were to happen while your child is at camp, we have all of their medical information on the forms that you guys send in before your child gets to camp, as well as, authorization to treat, medical clearance, participate, and our camper healthcare recommendation form. And we will take them to the doctor, to the clinic as needed. We do have a medical provider who we work with, and we would definitely give you guys a call and fill you in. We would not just do that unexpectedly, but we will do that as needed. Our nutrition. So I know I said our main goal is to make sure none of our campers go hungry. But that being said, a lot of our campers will be exposed to foods they've never tried before. So we have our meals family style. The whole group sits at an oblong shaped table and the staff serve the meals to them. We keep our meals pretty kid friendly while also making them balanced and serving things that are green and vegetables and fruits and grains at each meal. We also have a garden, which our campers work on during their science classes, which really entices them a lot of times to eat vegetables that we never would have expected them to eat. We also push a lot of water, like I said, make sure kids are staying hydrated, and cover all of the special diets and allergies that are needed. Something that we do that we also find helpful for our families to do before they come to camp, especially if they have a picky eater, is what we call yes, please, and no, thank you portions. What that means for us is if the staff is serving a plate of pizza and the camper really likes pizza, they would say, yes, please. And the staff would get them a piece or two of pizza, whatever they've deemed as a full portion. And then if the camper says, no, thank you, I don't really like pizza, they would break off a little piece of the crust and they would put it on the side of the camper's plate. That goes with vegetables, anything that wouldn't be an allergy to that camper. And what we're trying to do with that is not force the camper to eat it, but expose them to something that they have never had before, or get them comfortable with the uncomfortable. They're more than welcome to curl it up in a napkin and put it off to the side somewhere where they won't see it or need to eat it. But our staff might provide some encouragement if they are given it a little sniff or say, oh, I've had that before, but I'm not quite sure if I like it. They might say, well, if you want to give it a try, we can, tell everyone that you tried it and that you liked it, or tried it and that you didn't like it, and still celebrate that you tried something new, because that's something really important for our campers. And they get a lot of that at camp, is trying something new. And it's okay if they don't like it. We can still celebrate them anyway. I know there's been times in the dining hall where a staff has announced to the whole entire dining hall that a camper has tried something and did not like it. But we as a camp knew it was really important for that camper to try something new, and we were able to celebrate them. Communication. So as I had mentioned, we are an electronic-free camp. The communication between the camper and their parents directly happens between old-fashioned letters or our one-way email system. Our one-way email system is through our Camp in Touch, and you send those emails, we print them out daily, and we deliver them to the camper's individual mailbox, providing them the opportunity to write a response the next day and scan it back to you straight through the Camp in Touch system. We also collect mail from the mailbox every day, except for Sundays, to, again, deliver every day to the campers 6, if not 7 days a week. During our 7-day sessions, we don't recommend using snail mail, but if you want to send handwritten letters or you don't want to do the one-way emailing system, something that we are able to do is collect, those 5-6 letters on opening day. You can give them to your program manager, you can give them to the admissions table, and we will just sort them out and deliver one to your camper each day. And then during the 7-day sessions, usually during our longer sessions, we'll take just a letter that they write on any paper that the staff give them or that they bring to camp, put it in an envelope, write your address on it, and mail it right out to you. But during the 7-day sessions, we usually scan all of them in and email them, because mail is unpredictable, and we find that the campers will get home from camp and be like, did you get my letter? And you haven't gotten it yet, which could be really disheartening for them. And they might have been asking for Skittles or something really important for you to bring on closing day. So we will probably email all of those letters during the 7-day session. Other communication that we do while your camper is at camp, we want you to feel connected to your camper while they're at camp, while providing them that opportunity to be independent. So our program managers, who you meet on opening day, will act as their communicative liaison between you and your camper. They will set up weekly phone call updates to let you know what's going on, activities that your camper is loving, or, if they're some type of incident, your camper fell and maybe scraped their knee and needed a Band-Aid or something like that, they might give you a call and let you know. They're also available to schedule extra calls or answer emails as needed. We have our staff carry around cameras with them all day long during the day. And they take, sometimes 50 to upwards of 100 photos each day of the group. And 6 or 7 days a week, we get those posted on Camp in Touch, so that you guys are able to see your camper's face and see the smiles and the friends that they're making, which I know after camp, our campers know that we're taking photos of them. And after camp, they really often like to go back and look at those as well and see them as really special. And then we have what we call end of session summaries. And those are usually delivered to the family about a week or so after your camper leaves camp. And what that looks like is it kind of reads similarly to an IEP. And you'll set goals for your camper while they're at camp. The staff will, talk about how they came in regards to those 3 goals, and provide some strategies that we used and the results of those strategies, as well as, just giving some summary of things that we saw during your camper's time at camp. And then you guys are able to take those and give them to teachers or other therapy providers, so the campers are able to continue working on what they worked on with us at camp. Our staff. So we have staff who come from all over the place, of all ages. Our staff start, in college with us, as well as college graduates and teachers, which is different than some other camps might start staff in high school. And we do not start staff until college, which is really important, that our staff have had that experience of being independent and running on their own schedule before they come and are responsible for our campers. Many of our staff do hold degrees in psychology, education, counseling, recreational therapy, social work, speech pathology, because they're interested in coming to us, and that's what they're passionate about. But that is not required to be a staff with us. So what we do is we do an extensive interview process, background check, drug screen, and we hire the best of the best. And then we bring them to us, like I said, over 2 weeks, usually about 15 days before the start of the summer. And we do all of their training in-house, including their hard skills, soft skills, child development, training on autism and ADHD, training on behaviors, CPR, first aid, and all of those things. So we can assure that our staff are trained to where we want them to be. And we are sure that our staff are ready to work with our kids before our kids come to camp, because that is really important to us. And we know that we couldn't operate without our direct care staff. They are the most important part of our staff by far, and we want them to feel successful and have a life-changing experience as well. As far as coming to camp, I know some of you are already enrolled for the summer and some may not be, and that's okay. But just giving a little overview about what it'll look like. Opening day is really stressful for a lot of our kids. So some things that we do to mitigate that stress, which might sound like we're increasing it, but I promise we're not, is when you pull into the parking lot at your scheduled time that you'll receive about a week before camp, our counselors will meet you at your car and they will take your camper to their cabin. And that can seem really scary, but it's not the final goodbye. It gives the family time to check in with the program manager, tell the program manager ins and outs about your camper, check in any medications, and meet our medical team, just so that everyone is a familiar face, and make sure everything is accurate if your camper is on medications, and then give you the opportunity to go down to your camper's cabin to say goodbye. And we think that that part is really important. And while we ask parents stay on the outside of the cabin, they're still able to peek in, see what it looks like. And hopefully that camper has had the opportunity to set up their little space with their shelves and their bed, so they can show you the space that they're going to be living in and for the next couple of weeks. And they often feel really proud of that, which is awesome. And then we do, traditional opening day of camp things. We do a tour so everyone knows where they are and what to expect when they go to different activities. We already have the schedule hanging on the wall so they can look at what they're going to be participating in for the next 1 to 2 weeks. And they all check in with the nurse so everyone knows who the nurse is. If they have any bumps or bruises that they need to get checked out while they're at camp, and then just get to know their friends and their staff throughout the rest of the day. And then my personal favorite part is opening campfire, where they just get to let loose and have fun before winding down for their first night in the cabins. A little bit about what our schedule looks like. Our campers wake up and do their morning routine, and then they go to group where they set their goal for the day. And throughout the day, they have time to reflect on that, check in and see how they're doing. We have 2 activities in the morning before lunch. After lunch, we have downtime, and 2 activities in the afternoon split up by a snack. And then we have dinner and a bigger evening activity before, winding down for evening group, where they are able to talk about the goal that they had set that morning, as well as something that is one of my personal favorite parts of camp, what we call PPLs, where our campers say something they were proud of, positive about, and something they learned that day, so that they can personally track the progress that they're making during their time at camp, while recognizing that they're doing all of that while having very much fun. And then they have flashlight time, where they can read, look at photos of family, draw, color, or do something else that relaxes them before about 15 minutes later turning off the lights to go to sleep. Some activities that your camper will get to participate in are, seen on the screen, traditional camp activities, something that you've seen on The Parent Trap even. And it's really awesome to see our kids engage in these activities. We know a lot of our kids are pretty glued to screens. A lot of kids these days are pretty glued to screens. They're using screens in the classroom more than ever. And a lot of our kids have a ton of online friends, which is amazing, but they don't get a lot of time outside in a lot of cases. So we try to keep our campers outside, active and challenging themselves to accomplish new things such as rock climbing, kayaking down the Green River, and maybe doing their first ever camp out. And that is not done without reward of Carnival Day, s'mores, pool. The pool is the best place on campus, and it's being renovated, so it's going to be even better this year. And we're very excited for that. And then so between each of these activities that the campers will do, they'll sit down and have what we call a transition group. They'll go over the schedule, the expectations, and have the opportunity to ask any questions that they might have about what's upcoming for the day, which we find really helpful to mitigate any anxiety with our campers. Some of the examples of social development I've gone throughout the rest of the presentation, but some of them I haven't hit on yet. So what we use at camp is natural and logical consequences. And that, is pretty self-explanatory for a lot of our families. If there's some type of conflict or the camper becomes frustrated in any way, we might use a natural or logical consequence. If they push something over, a logical consequence will be that they have to go pick it back up with assistance if it's heavy. Our staff also engage a lot of natural social skill building, including, sitting next to a camper at a meal and being like, hey, have you asked your friend how they're doing today? Or I heard you talking about this earlier. Maybe you can ask someone another question about that to try and, help them with that reciprocal conversation, trying something new and building and maintaining those relationships and friendships. Another thing that we use a lot is advocating, self-advocating for a break, self-advocating for a snack, self-advocating to have a conflict resolved within the group. We really try to work with our campers on telling us what's wrong and telling us how we can help them. What they need in that moment is really important to know. And we know that when our campers get really overwhelmed, they might not be able to communicate that, and that's okay. They can have that time to sit, process within themselves, calm down, and then come back and talk about it with our staff. The enrollment process. So we accept campers from all over the United States as well as international. We're building that number back up, which is great this year. And you go through everything online because we have people who come to us from all over, fill out an application on Camp in Touch. After you put the application in, I myself review the application. Usually on Fridays, I send out an email to set up a call the next week, and we ask a couple of additional questions. Get to know your camper really well before putting in that deposit and figuring out the best program for them at camp. And then some ways that we help you prepare for camp is our pre-camp parent webinars, which are in May for sessions 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it is in July for session 5 because we know that's really far away from May. And then our e-campfires, which is our preparing for camp webinar for our campers, where they're going to be able to see maybe where they're staying and some of the activities they're going to be engaging in, as well as seeing some pictures of staff or videos of staff that they're going to get to meet when they come to camp. Something that we do on the day before closing day is our parent seminar. And that is put on by me, Corey, our executive director, and our operations director. And we try to give you as many tips and tricks to take camp home with you. We are trying to get back into doing that in person this year, as it's been virtual the past 3 years because of COVID and various other things. But we know our kids well enough to know that they might not tell you everything they did at camp when they get home. So we want to be able to fill you in and help you, use those strategies that we used at camp once your camper gets home, and to help them throughout the school year. And the summary, like I had already explained, and then calling us throughout the year. We're happy, more than happy, to check in with your campers after their time at camp, before their time at camp, do a Zoom call, a call. And a lot of our campers will even they all exchange information. They're able to keep in touch with themselves, but our staff are not able to share information with our campers. So a lot of our campers will write letters to their staff, send them over to us, and we will get them out to the staff, so that they're able to let them know that they're thinking of them, and let them know that they're excited to come back to camp. But I believe that is everything we have. So I will go ahead and open up this time to ask any other questions that haven't been asked yet. I know I haven't seen a ton of stuff in the chat box, but I trust that Corey has done a great job in answering all of those questions. So go ahead and send anything else in that we can touch on for you guys.
Yeah, we're all caught up on the chat. There's a couple more coming in at the end, but I think we've got all the questions answered that we need to. So
the most recent question, we could try to connect people from the same area before camp or after camp. I know a lot of families who call us ask for parent references, and I often try to find someone in a similar area to them so that, they can ask them personal questions and try to connect if needed.
yeah, and we also, I think the other thing is we have campers try to connect while they're here. So once they leave, if they want to share emails or Instagram or anything like that,
We share
so
their
your
Discord,
campers,
their phone numbers, all of the things that they do. It
right, so
changes
that
every year. I can't keep up.
yeah, so your campers can be connected as well. Yeah.
A typical day at camp includes waking up and doing morning routine, making sure we're ready for the day, making sure the cabin is clean, setting a goal, breakfast. We have 2 activities in the morning before lunch and downtime, and then 2 activities in the afternoon split up by a snack. And then we have dinner and a larger activity in the evening before winding down to do evening group and evening routine. And our campers shower every other night, so their evening routine might be longer on their shower night, and then winding down for bed. As far as opting or continuing to stay after a session at camp, we would love that in most cases. However, we do fill up every summer. So typically once your camper is already with us at camp and they're having a great time, we don't usually have space. Who's to say we won't have a spot open up? It definitely is a possibility if you come in session 1 and you're trying to come back in session 5 that we might have a spot open up throughout the summer because of schedule changes and things like that. But we cannot guarantee that your camper would have the opportunity to stay without previous enrollment. Corey, I might be missing some too. Feel free to chime in.
Yeah, no, I'm typing and trying to get some so I'm trying to get to all of them as well.
Is there a way for new campers to talk to vets or parents? We can connect parents with parent references who have been with us for years and years and years. That's something that we find ourselves doing a lot. And then, if your camper is looking to connect with a past camper, you can ask that family if their camper is willing to chat with them as well.
Yeah, another question came in, and about that staying extra or potentially not. We're very used to working with people that are homesick or
Yes.
having a hard time at camp. We employ a lot of strategies to work with the camper and the family to get through that period. We call it marshmallow fever here.
Yes.
And so we see that a lot, and our staff is trained to deal with that and to kind of work through that. And the program managers and staff will be in contact with you if we kind of have some of those problems, but that's pretty typical for a camper, especially to come through and kind of go through that homesickness as well.
Mm-hmm. And we normalize it with our kids because it is totally normal. And our staff feel that way a lot of the times too. So they're able to really dig down deep with the kids and chat with them about it. Me being the most homesick ever my first year at camp. So very used to it.
But yeah, Haley is absolutely right. It's something we see. It's pretty typical. It's very normal and something that we're used to working through and dealing with as we go.
I see. When will we stop taking applications? We stop taking applications when we're full. I will say this year we are filling up at record speed. We do already have programs that are full and are filling up, and I'll talk to a family and say, yeah, we have space in that program. And by the next day, that space has been filled by an application. So We are filling up very quickly. We're accepting rolling applications until we are full.
As far as our discipline policy, we talked about, we use those natural and logical consequences. We don't use any kind of ideas of punishment at all. We want the kids to, if they make a mistake, they want to make up for it. And that's a skill we really feel like we want to teach our campers. So it's something that is a valuable lesson to learn, and that's what we work through. We do problem solving techniques so that they can figure out who they affected and how to solve a problem, instead of just having a problem and then going on. So, but we use a lot of natural and logical consequences.
We do not follow principles of ABA at our camp. We are not a therapeutic camp. We run on a developmental model. We do not have any ABA therapists, licensed therapists on our staff while our kids are with us. It's more of a traditional summer camp run to fit a way for our kids to be successful. So we do not use principles of ABA while your kids are at camp. For the question of how much experience do we have dealing with campers who have ASD with demand avoidance profile, we do have some experience. I will say it's kind of on a case-by-case basis of whether we think we would be able to best support your camper. But even if we didn't think we were able to support the behaviors or the needs of your camper, we are pretty dedicated to helping you find a program that would be able to support your camper. And then working, we're happy to talk to them or do whatever we need to get your camper into camp, because above all else, we believe that every camper deserves to go to summer camp.
Yeah, and our staff is trained to deal with that and has dealt with that before. But I think if you want more information, that's a great conversation to have with Haley or myself to make sure that we can meet your camper's needs. Yeah.
Definitely. We have usually anywhere between 80 to 90 campers on camp with us during the summer, during any given session. That being said, our groups are 8 to 9 campers with 3 staff, and they pretty much stick to that one group, that one cohort during their time at camp.
I just finished typing that.
I just saw it coming.
Yeah. Great.
Awesome. Well, if you guys have any other questions, we can continue answering, but if not, please feel free to enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll be available throughout the rest of the week. I'm happy to answer any other emails or phone calls tomorrow, to answer anything else that you guys have. This will also be recorded and posted up on our website for your reference if you want to go back and check over anything that we said. Yes, like-minded children are grouped together. We spend a lot of time grouping our, you just answered that as well, grouping our campers together with all different types of interests and things like that.
Well, I saw lots of, hey, we're excited, our camper's excited. And so yes, and yes, diagnoses as well are
Yes.
put in similar groups. But we are excited to have all of you show up to camp. And for those of you who want more information, please feel free to give us a call or an email. And we thank you guys so much for coming.
We do. This was great. And we had a great turnout. So we really appreciate everyone. I know I said I was going to keep it at 30 minutes and I totally didn't. So my apologies. But if I didn't get to any of your questions, please feel free to give us a call, or you can shoot me an email directly. Again, my name is Haley and my email is Haley, HALEY @talismancamps.com. I'm also the one who will probably answer the phone if you call our office. So. Make sure no other last minute questions come through. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the call. Thank y'all for coming. If I can. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.